Hello, Doctor Who people of the internet, and today I'll be looking at the subscription audio part of the Complete History set, The Toy. Now, I'm quickly going to talk about the backstory of this audio, then I will go on to my actual thoughts on the story and the presentation of this CD. So without further ado, let's look at the backstory to this CD. Now, this story has quite an interesting sort of backstory to it on how it came to be. Now, this originally was going to be part of the Big Finish short trip range, which is, if you're familiar with, I've already reviewed one of the short trips. I'll put a link at the top if you want to see that review. It's basically a little short adventure between 30 to 40 minutes long, with basically, it's sort of a dramatic reading of a quick little easy adventure. Now, this story was advertised in the Big Finish magazine Vortex in issue 66 and 67, but it was dropped and replaced by another Fifth Doctor short trip read by Sarah Sutton again, I think, called The King of the Dead. And obviously this was made part of the subscription for the Complete History, which I think is a very good move because it's quite a striking thing to get people to subscribe with the cover. So how can you obtain this story? Obviously you can subscribe to the Complete History set. I didn't do that because the Complete History seems quite a bit of money for like 70-80 issues. I'm not really that interested in it. But the way I got this through eBay. It normally goes for about 20 quid, but I managed to get this on bid for a £5. On to the presentation. I have to say this is a magnificent cover. I absolutely love it. So we've got Roger Delgado's master there, we've got the Gallifrey Citadel, Anthony Ainley's master, then we've got the glorious sort of Gallifreyan mountains there, got Nyssa in Time Lord attire, which I think is a really nice little image there, and we've got the Crimson Crystal, which plays quite a big part to the story. Then we've got some extra documentaries because obviously it doesn't reach the hour mark, it's just a half-an-hour story. Got the Fifth Doctor banner there, read by Sarah Sutton. For the spine. And for the back, so do feel free to pause to know what this story is about. And of course we've got the running time there, which is basically 30 minutes of the story, then 30 minutes of the leaflets. We have advertisement for other Big Finish releases there and how to subscribe and all that sort of stuff and what Big Finish do. And basically a description on what Big Finish do on some of the ranges, and then we have the credits for the story. The disc art is exactly the same as the cover. We've just a zoomed in image of what do I think of the toy? Well, where to start? I absolutely adore this release. If you love the classic series, then you will love this release, as it really is a continuity fest. Some of the characters in this story are not named, but you know who they are. Because the way they're described, and you're just like, oh, that's so-and-so, and it's just great, absolutely fantastic. Now, some of you may be wondering, because I know some people love continuity and how it all stuff fits into the timelines and etc. This story is just set after Kinder, because there is a reference to Vimara, and it is obviously before Earthshock, so it is a season 19 story, because it does feature everyone's favourite mathematical genius, Adric. But thankfully, he's not a heavy part within this story. Now, back to the story itself. The intro for the story does remind me of the book Fear of the Dark, because it sort of has the same sort of intro with Nyssa suffering from a bad dream. And this story really does delve into how the events of Traken being destroyed affected her, which obviously, if Nyssa was a new series companion, would have been explored, which would have been fantastic. But thankfully, Big Finish did sort of explore that in sort of the Primeval, sorry. So with this, it really does expand on Traken, like I said earlier, as we get to understand Nyssa's childhood and some of the wildlife on Traken, because this story really does play on the Keeper of Traken with the Master. Another thing I love about this is Nigel Fares' descriptive language, as it really does lead to some great world building. The pacing for the story I find is quite fantastic, as there are some really nice contrasts of pace within this, as the start is quite calm and collective. Then there's a sudden change in direction and becomes quite eerie, and then it progresses to become quite a fast-paced and full of action story. Character-wise, I'm not really going to go into detail with all the characters within this story because I feel that it will spoil it, so I'll only mention a few within this. Now, Nyssa, like I said, this is a fantastic story for her, as it really does expand on Traken's culture, plants, wildlife, and Sarah Sutton really does bring all the emotions behind the character, whether it be baffled or scared. She is just truly a magnificent reader within this story. And I've got to say, I've got to mention this, her Tegan impression is pretty darn funny. I'm not saying that to take the mick. She does a pretty darn good job, and it is practically spot on to how Tegan is in the TV series. One more character I will talk about is the First Doctor. Yes, he features within this story, and Sarah Sutton, again, she does a marvellous job bringing Hartnell's Doctor to life, because you really just get the rhythm of Hartnell's speech. And just hearing the First Doctor and Nyssa interact on Gallifrey is just a sheer delight. And now the First Doctor is not the only, First and Fifth Doctor are not the only Doctors to feature within this story. There are more Doctors will feature within this story, but I will leave that for you to find out. So what are my overall concluding thoughts on The Toy? Well, I love this story to bits, and I can say this with confidence. This easily is in my top 10 Big Finish stories. If you love the Keeper Traken and continuity, then look no further, as this really does not only explore Nyssa's past, but it explores the Doctor's and the Master's past on Gallifrey, which is just mouth-watering just to think about, isn't it? Now, the sound design in this is just excellent, and it creates a marvellous eerie atmosphere at times. And combine that with Nigel Fair's superb script and Sarah Sutton's delightful tones, this is definitely a winner. My only negative for this is I didn't want it to end. It's just a story I just want it to continue. It's just that good of a story. It's one of those stories you just don't want to end, you just want it to keep on going. And as for why it's called The Toy, well, I'll just leave that for you to find out, shall I? So I better rate this story. So The Toy, it definitely gets a 10 out of 10. So 10 celeries out of 10 for The Toy. A magnificent short trip. If you can get your hands on it, do. It's a really nice little half-an-hour adventure. Sarah Sutton brings all the characters to life, you know, doing all these different voices, and it really does show how good of a character Nyssa is and how good of an actor Sarah Sutton is, because she is really versatile within this. So thank you very much for watching this review. Do check out The Toy if you can obtain it cheaply, or just if you want to get the complete history, then it'll be worth getting it just for this, really. So yeah, that concludes this review. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever that will be. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.